75 years ago, in 1942, York was subjected to one of the biggest raids that it saw in the Second World War. At 2:42 in the morning, there was an attack by the German Air Force. There was no warning prior to that at all, and a series of bombs rained down across the city, incendiaries and high explosives. And the result was 94 people lost their lives in total. What you find with York is it's actually one of the Baedeker raids, which is a specific raid conducted by the German Air Force on places of cultural interest. So the name Baedeker comes from the Baedeker guides that were tourist guides produced in Germany, which tourists coming from Germany before the war would have actually used to find all the places of interest in the city. It was one of a number of raids in England and Wales using the Baedeker guides, but they were actually specifically looking for places of cultural interest rather than looking for high industry. It was to break morale, so they knew that they were targeting heavy engineering, munitions factories, areas like that, but to actually try and target somewhere like York Minster or some of the old streets, they believed would have a greater impact psychologically on the English population than it would if they were just targeting the kind of more standard places of kind of heavy industry. There were deaths, there was a huge amount of damage. There were about 2,000 people displaced that night, so they had nowhere to go. So it did cause a lot of problems, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really have the impact that they were looking for. It had a building impact, it had an impact on those who were immediately affected, but generally speaking, in York, I don't think it had that range of impact. The Guildhall was completely burnt out that night, and the Guildhall we have now was reconstructed in the 1950s to look older, using the facade that was still there. They missed the Minster entirely, which was quite interesting, but they did hit St Martin's Coney Street, which was also subjected to fire as well. So there were one or two key buildings were badly damaged.